So recently I had a requirement to create a search form that would search using a third-party service as opposed to the default WordPress search. And so I initially tried to look at a form option and some other things. And so I had dropped in the default search element for bricks and noticed that you could put in your own endpoint URL, action URL. And so I was thinking that, well, maybe I would be able to change the search parameter from the default $S to what I needed, which in my case was $query, and make it work. And so I was like, okay, let me go back into the this parameter thing and see if I could add the parameter. Well, that didn't work. So I had to figure out a way to create my search form. And so the standard search or the standard form with inside bricks didn't work. I was like, okay, I can hand code this thing, and or I can build it in bricks. And so I built it in bricks, and that's what you see here. But you have to add all of the pieces, and then you have to actually go in the back end and register the tags so that you can use the form select and input tag. And so I was like, but I really like the fact that this search thing has some parameters associated with it. So I asked a question on a couple of forums whether or not anybody knew how to programmatically change the S to something else. And nobody seemed to know. So I decided I would take a different approach and see if I could find an easier way. Now, I can code it out and I can have the search form work, and that's great. And so you end up with So you end up with, here's the form that I get from Bricks Builder. Here's the form that I hand coded. This is using the US web design system. So I was like, okay, but I need this to act like this. Because right now, if I do, get rid of this, these parameters. So if I do this and go back and type test, I get the default search up here. So you see test, S equals test. That's not really what I want. So what I needed to be able to do was take this form, add the search site that I needed, which in this case is here. Put that back in. So this is the default action URL. And so if I hit save here and the page refreshes, then I put test in here and it goes to my site, which is a WordPress site. So the default S is there, and this is not what I want. So I was like, okay, what's the way to do this? Well, I can hand code it, which is what I did here. But there actually turned out to be an even easier solution. So if you take this form and you right click and inspect with your browser, you'll see you can get this search query div, copy outer HTML, come back in, go to a code element, drop in your code, and set it to execute, sign the code. Okay. And so now you see I have my search field. Now I do have to go in here and change this parameter from S to query, re-sign the code, save. And now when I come over to this one and do test, it will go to the page as expected, but it'll actually run the query correctly using the service that I have. So this is really a simple way to bypass having to do all this code and all these other things and figure out all the classes and styles, because if you've styled it once up here like I did with a search style, now you have that search style available to you. If you want to add parameters here. So you just go into I have parameters associated with my search. So these financial documents has a custom parameter called search.gov custom 2 with a value of financial document. So I just come back in here and I say, I want this to be search.gov custom 2, and I need the value to be financial document without the plus sign. And then now when I save this and go back to the front end, and inspect, you'll see that there's now this hidden parameter in here. So now I can just go back and copy the outer HTML, go back into my, change this back to query again, sign, save, and now when I go to test, it will search my custom search and apply the parameter of financial document. So now it's already filtered down for the end user, which for this means I can use it in multiple places, filtering very specific types of post types, because I set up a feature to enable post types as that secondary attribute, and that way all I have to do is pass that through as a filter, and any post type that is custom will come back. Articles, regular posts and pages come back on their own. They don't have a special parameter, but I could search for all pages or all posts, but that's sort of the default search anyway. So hopefully that'll help somebody. If you have any questions or if you have comments, there's going to be an article on my Bricks for WP site associated with this video, so leave a comment there and I will try to respond as quickly as I can. Thank you.